Martin Luther Kings. Time for class.
We about to change the world like Martin Luther King.
I am
King's
happy
class.
to join with you today.
In Oakland, a group of young students have just become songwriters.
I stay woke.
I see you.
Wake up. I'm a conscious brother.
Get ready
for school. We are conscious brothers.
We are conscious
I expose myself.
Exposed to other images, other ideas about what it means to be a young black man.
Educate me.
Motivate me.
You can motivate me.
Peace on the earth, we pursuing it.
So I stay woke.
So, what do y'all think about bullying?
It is really bad.
Shout out to King Max on opening. This is African American Male Achievement. Facilitated by yours truly, Mr. D.
Get it out of here.
And the lesson is
King's class and we about to have a blast. Come on. King's class and we about to have a blast.
Trying to
Come
change the narrative of the black boys in Oakland, California.
Hey Kings, it's your AA&A facilitator, Mr. D, in honor of Cinco de Mayo. Hey, Cinco de Mayo. Hey, Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo. We gonna pay tribute to no other than Cesar Chavez. Check it out.
Cesar Estrada Chavez, an American civil rights activist and labor leader, was born in Yuma, Arizona on March 31st, 1927. The Chavez family lost their Arizona homestead in the Great Depression, and in the late 1930s moved to Northern California.
Cesar and his family became migrant farm workers thrust into the industrialized agriculture of California.
Cesar dropped out of school after the 8th grade to help support his family by working in the fields.
Cesar joined the Navy right after World War II, and he saw places he never would have seen, so it did open his eyes up to the world very much.
After the Navy, Chavez returned to the fields and became a grassroots organizer for a Latino civil rights group. He then left the group and formed the National Farm Workers Association, now known as the United Farm Workers of America, with the goal of unionizing farm workers.
Cesar believed that the movement he founded had to be more than just a union that was solely concerned with improving wages, hours, and working conditions, although the UFW certainly did that. But it also needed to address the crippling dilemmas that farm workers face in the community after they came home from work.
Most people were poor. They didn't have access to good housing or health care or education.
Chavez was adamant that his new union follow a strict policy of using only nonviolent tactics as a means of negotiation. While the organization was still in its infancy, UFW embarked upon one of the most influential boycotts in U.S. history, the boycott of all California table grapes.
The grape boycott really took off in '68. Cesar had studied history. He knew that for 100 years, farm worker strikes were brutally crushed, and that the agricultural industry, which in California is one of the richest, most powerful industries in the state, controlled much of rural California. So what Cesar needed to do was take the fight from the fields, where the odds were stacked against the farm workers, and move it to the cities, where the farm workers at least had a chance.
Over the next few years, led by Cesar Chavez, the farm workers would boycott, protest, march, and fast their way to a collective bargaining agreement, which guaranteed field workers, among other things, increased pay and the right to unionize.
He was responsible for a lot of the labor codes that we see today, the protections, the benefits, but the basic right to organize and affiliate.
As the head of the United Farm Workers of America, labor rights was not the only cause championed by Chavez.
Cesar's commitment to social justice went far beyond the farm workers. In the 1960s, he was a strong and vocal opponent of the Vietnam War. In the 1970s, Cesar was an early and vocal supporter of gay rights. Also not a popular position, especially at that time, among his own constituency.
Cesar Chavez died in his sleep on April 23, 1993. He was survived by his wife Helen, their 8 children, and 31 grandchildren. In 1994, he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Bill Clinton.
In 1975, there was a reporter with a national news magazine following Cesar around for several days, rallies, marches, picket lines. And in an interview, she asked him what accounts for all the affection and respect that farm workers show you in public. And Cesar paused for a moment, and then he smiled his easy smile, and he said, "The feeling is mutual."
Everyone had always said John would be a preacher when he grew up, just like his father. It had been said so often that John, without ever thinking about it, had come to believe it himself. But not until the morning of his 14th birthday did he really begin to think about it. And by then it was already too late. His earliest memories, and which were in the way, his only memories.
If you just read a book, you can see the story. If you read a book, you can see the story. Read a book.
The brightness of Sunday mornings. They all rose up together that day. His father didn't have to go to work, and he led them in prayer before breakfast. His mother, who was dressed up that day and looked almost younger, with her hair straightened by the pressing comb and a little white fitted cap on the top of her head that all the holy women wear. And his little brother Roy, silent because his father was home that day.
If you just read a book, you can see the story. If you read a book, you can see the story.
And I hope you reading too.
Bye.